This episode is brought to you by Tennessee Craft Beer Magazine. And I was waiting for that snappy response we expect from DJ by this point.
Oh, I need a snappy response. I didn't know that.
We're waiting for your clever, snappy response,
okay.
DJ.
Let me think of one as you're preparing here. Clever, snappy response.
Remember, you get a beer if you do this right.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Tennessee Craft Beer Magazine. Visit them online at tncraftbeermag.com. There you can find articles about beer throughout the state of Tennessee, as well as an interactive craft beer map and a list of all the breweries that are within Tennessee at this time.
All the breweries?
All the breweries in Tennessee.
In Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's like
snappy.
Snappy.
So yeah, check them out either in store, in your favorite pub, or online at tncraftbeermag.com.
And scene.
And end scene.
I'm halfway down in the bottom of a bottle, and I ain't gonna change my ways. But I ain't half bad when I do what I ought. It don't happen much these days.
Well, hey guys, this is Chris Hill.
This is DJ Loop.
And this is the Humble Beer Podcast. We are chilling out at my house today, just drinking some beer. And actually, I'm going to have to crack open this beer right now for DJ because I promised him if he did that ad well, it would end in a good, tasty beer. So, good boy.
Yes.
I guess that's probably the wrong way to...
Apparently, I'm a puppy.
Apparently, you're a puppy now. This is getting weird.
That's about right.
You are kind of a puppy dog.
I will work for treats.
Yes. Free beer.
So where did you get this fine?
I got this fine beer at Casual Pint. This is Resting Brewface. It's the hop series from Mickler's. Is it Mickler's? Yeah, Mickler's. And San Diego. Mickler's SD. I saw the SD. I thought South Dakota, but no, Mickler's SD. They're in San Diego, California, which I was actually just in recently.
San Diego.
Yes. Means?
Can we say that on the podcast?
Sure we can.
A whale's vagina.
That's right. According to Ron Burgundy, anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, grandmother.
She's seen
Anyways,
movie, right?
let's... Huh?
She's seen that movie, right? Everybody has.
No.
Probably not.
No, definitely not. There you go. All right, there's your beer.
Yes, you gave me the frothy one you gave me.
Yes, I'm sorry. Well, you know what's interesting, though? When I was in Prague, I'm going to say that really pretentiously for as long as I can. When I was in Prague, they really like to put a good foamy head on most of the beer that they poured. I was actually surprised by it. But yeah, we're here, a lot of people pour more of the, I guess, the Scottish style.
What is it, when you pour the pint, it's supposed to be like
Like a full finger?
No, it's like the tip of your finger, like the mark of your finger, I guess. I'm pointing.
Like the knuckle?
The knuckle, yeah.
Yeah.
Knuckle is what the film is supposed to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's legitimate or not.
I don't know
somebody
either.
told me.
But
I always go up, people tell me. See, if I say it vaguely, like that's what somebody told me. People are bound to believe it, right?
yeah, that's exactly right. So anyway, so we got this from Resting Brewfest or Resting Brewfest. That would be a great name for a beer festival.
The Resting Brewfest. The Resting Brewfest.
No, we got this from Mickler, which of course, got it through Tony at Casual Pint, and part of the reason he got it is because he was up at the Craft Brewers Convention up in Nashville at the beginning of May. And a lot of brewers coming around. I think over 14,000 people came in for the event, and actually had all manner of beer and brewing and all types of awesomeness here in not here, but in Nashville, in Tennessee, close enough.
We're feeling the effects of it in Knoxville because you get a lot of people learning stuff and getting concepts and collaborations and setting up stuff, and it was just fun to see my kind of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all my social media is kind of just blow up with all the brewers in Knoxville and friends I know from the people we've interviewed and stuff, and just to see all everybody and people with all the famous like rock stars of the craft beer world and stuff, and getting their picture made and you know, I mean, and you know they have to be like soaking up everything these people are saying, because they've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And in a conference like that in the state, it's going to have to affect all the brewers in the state, because I mean, and just the collaborations and the connections, it's going to lead to growth. I mean, I'm a soccer guy, so I'm like, it's like having the World Cup in the United States, and how much that translates into people like the fans and the coaches and stuff like that, and how it might translate into the growth of the game.
It brings a lot of interest. It brings the industry here, and the other cool thing it does on the other side of that is it brings a lot of attention to this region and what's going on, and some of the great breweries that are here, and some of the great things they're having. Earlier we were having the Saaz Smash Pills. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing the Saaz right or not, but it's a Black Abbey collaboration with Highwire out of Nashville. And part of the reason that was so cool was, you know, that's one of the things that we've seen filter over the beer we're drinking now, the Saaz, and some other beers. We're starting to see, you know, kind of the after effects, I guess, of the conference, the beers that they may have made a lot more of to distribute after the event, but
you know, and you'll get a lot of just craft brewers that have learned stuff to hone in their craft to make that IPA just taste that much better, or that make that Pilsner that much cleaner or crisper or whatever. I mean, whatever all the stuff they learned and the new innovations of what the industry is doing, and because it was all right there in Nashville, which it was kind of cool to have that couple hours away from Knoxville and to see how that affects the craft beer industry in the state and Knoxville from now going forward, and see how people put those new things they've learned and stuff into practice.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it means a lot for the region to have that, and a lot for the state. So yeah, I mean, that's been really cool. And on the other side, you know, we get things like brew from California that we would never otherwise get unless we actually go to San Diego and actually do try to seek out some of those breweries. So really, really cool. So props to Tony for having the forethought to go ahead and buy some of this beer and bring it back and have it hanging out at the Casual Pint. So.
And he's from the San Diego area, so he probably knew what he probably knew what the best ones to get from, and he probably had some buddies out there that were in town. He probably got to show them around.
Yeah, he was when in fact when I saw him at the Casual Pint, he was like, "Hey, check this out." And he took me over there, and he's like, Here are two you need to try, and one was Windy Hill, and I think it may have been by the same brewery, but very, very good stuff. So really, really enjoyed that, and again, thank you, Tony. So out of that conference, though, I mean, obviously we get a lot of good beer, but we also get a lot of, a lot of thought comes out of that conference as well, and a lot of emotion, you know, a lot of energy coming out of it, but we get things like the Peak Coors of Miller Coors, writing an open letter.
Is that a beer or something?
I think it used to be.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, it used to be something.
My favorite thing is that you like, I guess the original Coors, you always hear the older guys.
Yeah.
They always talk about, back in my day, you couldn't get Coors past the Mississippi. And
it was a big deal when Coors came here. Although you know what, I kind of have that a little bit, because I remember it was a big deal when Yuengling came in.
Yeah, it did, because I remember like my brother-in-law going to D.C. to visit friends and stuff, and bringing trunk full of Yuengling in the state. That like, he probably got arrested for bootlegging.
I don't know if you're able to buy it in Kentucky yet, but I had an old roommate for years that anytime I come to Knoxville, he told me to come back with Yuengling Black and Tan, because you couldn't get it in Kentucky.
I mean, it's kind of weird, because they've got the different distributing laws, you know how it is, but when they opened, Yuengling opened up in Tampa or Orlando, I think it was Tampa, and they opened up their brewery, and a lot of places got it in the South, but then there's still these gaps in the middle that people that don't have it. which I mean, it's the decent cheap beer, I guess you would call it. I mean, inexpensive, I would say.
I would say it's the, from a budget perspective, it's definitely the lowest priced beer that I would just happily drink.
Yeah, exactly.
I was out with some friends. You talk about a surreal situation. I was out with some friends, hanging out at McGee Tyson Airport, sitting in an aircraft hangar, drinking Yingling last weekend.
Nice.
And that was really fun, really cool experience too. Because the guy who, the reason we were out there was, obviously we weren't flying while drinking. Just to be clear, we were following FAA regulations to that. But
is that flinking?
Huh? Flinking?
Flying while drinking?
I guess it would be flinking.
No, we used to call flinking with floating and drinking.
Oh no, that's just floating and drinking. That's different. But one of the things that was fun about it was the guy who, and I'm going on a complete tangent here, but one of the guys who was with us that weekend had flown around the world in a little airplane, like a little single engine turboprop called the Mooney 20 or 231, I think is what it was. But he had flown the path that Amelia Earhart had planned to fly back in her flight, and he flew it for her 80th, the 80th anniversary of her voyage or whatever. So it was really cool. We did formation flying in two planes with that most of the day, and then we were done at the end of the day drinking beer and hanging out. So I had some Yingling there, and happily drank it. I mean, it's something I've come to say over time, which is the best beer is the one that's in my hand. It's the best way to answer any question about what your favorite beer is, especially because I'm indecisive. My wife gives me a hard time for saying I love everything, and I do love a lot of things, but I'm also like Brick sometimes. I love lamp.
I love lamp.
Do you really love that lamp, or do you just say I love lamp? I love lamp.
Do you love Coors?
No,
not at all.
But I could see for someone like Pete why he would be, like he wrote the open letter, just to talk a little bit about it at a high level. He wrote an open letter to the brewing industry basically saying, why can't we all get along? I'm frustrated that, that the craft brewing industry sees us as the enemy. Like, why can't we be friends? And to that letter, there was a response by, let's see here, who was it? Nico? I cannot remember his last name right now, but Nico's is the guy, and he from Ninkasi Brewing Company, or Ninkasi Brewing Company. Sorry, I'm just butchering every name tonight. But from this brewery came in and basically wrote a response back. We'll post a link to that on the podcast if you want to go read it. It's really interesting. But the main thing was just talking about, the response back, which was, yeah, we're doing this because, you guys aren't playing fair. Mm-hmm. And you can't say, how can we all get along and then play as dirty as you have been?
I mean, like putting, they mentions it in the article, it's like faux craft beers, and then that was the whole reason why for the seal to come out to have that notoriety in the marketplace, where you can go to your craft beer aisle or go to the beer aisle and see, okay, there's a seal that lets me know this is a local or independent craft brewery.
Exactly.
I mean, and the craft beer scene, like, you don't have that. You don't have what other people have in other industries. Like, a Taco Bell, or from the difference between the Taco Bell and the taco truck. The difference between a craft gourmet burger shop and then an Applebee's or a McDonald's. Mm-hmm. So you have it's there's no need for that kind of like variation. In the craft beer world, you can put it in, or you can put it like a mass-produced beer that's not in a call it something else, or put it in a nice packaging, call it something else besides Coors brand, whatever, and it fools the public. I mean, and for me, I've been fooled by it before. What is this? And you buy it, then you start reading the label, or you Google search it, and you're like, oh, that's actually made by Miller Coors. So, I mean, it's one of those things, like, you have to have that kind of separation between the the big guys and the little guys to let you know what's the difference. And I think a lot of people know the difference by the taste. Most informed consumers do, but they're going to buy the product at least once or twice to know, and before they go, oh,
yeah. Yeah, and there was there was an instance back in what we're seeing, right now in the industry is, and I'll get to my instance in a minute, but what we're seeing right now in the industry is a lot of the breweries that are doing just what you said. They're faking or they're buying breweries, like they bought Wicked Weed, and was it Miller Coors or AB InBev that bought Wicked Weed?
InBev. My big thing with the Wicked Weed purchase and I know some people that have worked for Wicked Weed and or done some distributing and stuff for them, and I don't say that their beer has dropped in quality or anything. I mean, I haven't done taste tests and stuff like that. I mean, I've stayed away from their beer a lot because of the purchase, and one of the reasons why I stayed is away from them is because the owner of Brewer Wicked Weed, they came out and they said oh, we've got to join forces with the big guys to fight the people in liquor and wine.
Oh yeah,
I think is
fallacy. Oh
which
my
is
gosh.
which is completely asinine. When it's like you have.
That's like saying I'm an apple producer and I'm getting together with Big Apple to fight oranges.
Exactly.
I'm getting together with Big Apple to fight Big Orange, because you know what? When people crave an orange, we want them to think of apples first. It's ridiculous. It actually kind of reminds me of a Portlandia sketch with Steve Buscemi, who we were talking about earlier, where he's a celery dealer and he's in the celery business, and he's talking about how hard it is in the celery business to get celery, to be number one. And it's just this really goofy sketch, but it kind of is to that point. It's that they think that that particular market is what they need to expand, and we need to be thinking about the higher game, which is all alcohol and spirits, as opposed to, just beer within beer. But I mean, there's niches within niches. I mean, even within, wine, it's, American wines versus French wines versus Italian, and even within that, you want a white versus a red, and I mean, you can just go down, but they don't have those arguments in their industry. They I think for the most part, and I could be wrong, I'm no expert in the wine industry, but from what I've seen, you don't have really big wine. I mean, you've probably got some conglomerates and things that own and distribute the wines, but they're not over there shaking in their pants about craft beer or about the beer industry in general. They're looking down their noses at us.
Yeah. No, it's just silly for him to come out and write that article.
Oh, I know.
And try to act like the hip kid and act like he's something that he's not, and we're all brewers and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, like you said, if I'm out somewhere, I might at a ball game grab a Miller Coors or a Miller Lite or something if that's the only option.
Yeah.
I mean, if I just want a cold beer or something, but when I want to have a good quality beer, it's like when you're hungry and you want a burger and the only option is at McDonald's. Sometimes you stop at McDonald's.
Yeah. You
don't always have time to get that craft burger or that artisan burger, and I think it's kind of
like our Nashville trip.
Yeah, yeah. And it's and I think he says oh, we should come together all, and I think it's almost a slap in the face to all people who do art in general. It's if you're a musician or if you're a painter and stuff like that, and you have your own little niche art that's not the mainstream. Oh, you should just conform to the mainstream because it's what you should do.
You should support the music industry. It's
exactly.
The music industry argument.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you should support what we're doing with fighting for these legal rights in music versus trying to be independent and distribute your music digitally because you've got a better audience digitally, but we have control over it if we do it our way. Yeah. So you're going to do it our way.
I mean, it's an interesting kind of take for him. I don't know why he would want to come out with this. I mean, I don't know, just to maybe try to another way to.
You know, I think some of it could be, and we've kind of talked about this in the past a little bit. Actually, you were talking about it earlier, but how old guys really were nostalgic for Coors. I mean, at one time, Coors was, a startup brewery. And at one time, they were the scrappy little guy that was trying to create a beer that people liked. And they had that popularity, and they went through that hipster phase, and they've matured, and they've grown as a company into what they are now. And maybe some of it's Pete looking at the industry going, I'm one of you guys too. Like, I used to be here, or I used to experience that.
I mean, I'm a sucker for marketing. Like, when they came out with the little snub-nosed bottles, the Coors original thing, and the original snub-nosed bottles, I bought some for a party just because it was it was nostalgic to have that, or it was
a throwback.
A little throwback hipster little looking bottle. It was just funny to have that, and I fell for the marketing. And we're craft beer through and through, but I'm not going to pretend like he's craft beer.
Yeah,
it's like it doesn't make sense for him to. It was kind of a weird timing during the Craft Brewers Conference for him to even release that letter.
I know, it feels so odd, and just to go back to the story I was going to tell earlier too, but he's missing the hypocrisy of his own company and his own business by being so critical of the industry, because there's things like Tin Barrel Brewing, which is Budweiser. It wasn't Coors, but Budweiser did Tin Barrel, and they tried to look like a craft brewery. They built a whole website around when they were founded and who they were founded by, but essentially they were a puppet brewery.
Yeah.
They were a puppet brewery for Budweiser to try and get into that market. And it seems like they're kind of getting in, and they're wanting to save their market share as it's being chipped away in double digits every year by the craft brewing industry. And I don't know. To me, that's just, I don't know. I think it's the wrong way to go about it. I like the way Nikos responds to him and says, basically, if you cared so much about this with I can't remember the brewery he mentioned offhand, but why wouldn't you name the breweries that you purchase? Why wouldn't you name them like Miller Coors? Like, I know one of them's Terrapin. Yeah. So you could say Miller Coors Terrapin, or Terrapin brought to you by Miller Coors. Like, why not proudly display it if you're not trying to hide it?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you could argue that in some of these cases, like I know with Terrapin and stuff, they've kept a lot of the flavor, and they still have some of the same brewing team. They haven't fired everybody. They're not gutting these organizations, which, I mean, props to them for that. If you're going to give credit where credit's due, it's the fact that they're not, for the most part, just buying these up and then letting them run their course and shutting them down, which you see a lot of times in other industries where a business really just wants something for a particular asset or a particular thing that they do well, or even a particular group of people. They'll go in and they'll buy a business just for that and take that resource and move on and then spit the company out on the other side. And right now, we're not seeing that happen, but we are seeing a lot of this fake brewing and fake brews, if you will.
I mean, and that's the whole reason why for the Craft Brewers Seal. We come back to that, and I think that was an ingenious kind of invention by the Craft Brewers Association to create that level playing field. So I don't know if I may have mentioned on an early cast before that I really want the Brewers Association and whatever to get like signs and marketing out there in the grocery stores about the seal, because I mean we know about it because we read the magazines and we know that there's a thing, and I mean, and it's been published online, but Consumer Joe doesn't know about it. So, like, I think for me, my suggestion to the Craft Brewers Association is to get with the local reps and get with the thing that is a lot of these local reps. They also work. They're under they're distributed by Miller, like by these companies that are also kind of in bed with the Miller Coors and the Budweiser. So would the Budweiser want? But the thing but most of these also have a craft brand wrap. So those craft brand wraps maybe could put up marketing material saying, "Hey, this is craft. This is the craft beer section. these bottles and these cans that have this logo are independent craft.
Yeah.
I like that concept to get that information out to the general public. And I think, again, we're the Humble Beer Podcast. We're not telling anybody not to drink.
No.
What to drink.
No, I mean, because for my pride or for my shame, I'll admit I still like Wicked Weed. I still like Terrapin. I still like all these beers, and I don't think you have to snub your nose at them. You know, my big thing is when the quality goes down, or when we realize they've gutted it and they've taken the soul out of the company. That's when, to me, it's time to leave. And I don't have a problem with these big businesses acquiring these smaller ones and doing these things, but it's the way they masquerade. It's the way they try to hide it. It's the way that it feels underhanded for other brewers that are trying to compete against these, because they do provide them. And I've mentioned this on previous podcasts because I just happened to literally be in the right place at the right time at Terrapin Brewing when the head gosh, what do you call him? Like the head bar staff guy. Who am I thinking of? Like he'd be the head of the not the brewery, but the front of house or whatever. Anyways, he was like their head bartender / tour guide, and he was giving a tour to the Miller Coors folks, and I got to be on that tour. And he talked about all of what Miller Coors brought to Terrapin to patronize them and make them feel good about themselves, but it was an interesting perspective on what they had done to actually help them. But it does for smaller breweries that can't afford those machines to can, or those machines to help them be more consistent with the way their system pours their beer and all that. Like it's I almost want to call it unfair. It's definitely unfair to call them craft brew at that point when they're using the same production technologies and have access to the same resources, that Miller does when they brew, Miller High Life. To me, that's no longer in the same category. So
I mean,
just don't call it craft beer. Call it good beer. Call it flavorful beer, but don't call it craft beer.
Because craft is even though the definition of it technically keeps on changing.
Sure.
In the industry that identifies itself as craft, but it's like indie music, or like we've said that before.
Yeah.
But the what is called indie music today has morphed over time. Mm-hmm. So what we call craft beer has morphed over time to accompany more people, because it's a tag that kind of we proudly hold. And I'm saying if you're a Walmart, you can't call yourself a local business.
Yeah.
So like you can't run ads that say dilly dilly and make fun of craft beer industry. Then also try to be part of it too.
Yeah. I mean the dilly dilly thing, that's its own that's its own story right there.
I mean it's clever marketing for their core customers. It's like it's like something like Trump would say to his core base. just to get them going. It's like, because you have those people that
Lion Hillary.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Lion Hillary. Oh my gosh. Yeah, don't get me started. This is not a political podcast.
No, but it is. It's like there's that core group of people that I'm going to drink Budweiser till I die. I don't know why. I don't know why that guy sounds like Sling Blade, but he does. But thing of it is, so when they do the dilly dilly commercials, those guys get excited. But it makes fun of.
They're appealing to a very specific base.
Yeah, and the thing of it is, like the Pete Coors, they can't. And I know he's Coors, not InBev, but they can't mock it and also claim and talk about the local breweries mocking big beer. I mean, the thing is, the local breweries, the local breweries in the craft beer industry, they mock big beer, but it goes to a lot less voices or a lot less ears than a commercial like Dilly Dilly.
Yeah.
Or having a fake brewery. I mean, and this whole thing, the thing of it is, I don't even look at it. I used to get frustrated and be like, it's us against them, but I don't even look at it. I mean, they're just an afterthought. They're there.
Yeah.
and I want to worry about the wonderful beers that we have in Knoxville and the state and it just so happens if I'm at a ballpark or something and I want a cold brew and that's the only thing they have, you know what? I'll pick the McDonald's I'll walk up to the counter and go, do I want McDonald's, Wendy's, or Burger King? And I might have a McDonald's, Wendy's, or Burger King that day.
Yeah. A few years ago, I went to a Yankees game and at Yankee Stadium, the new Yankee Stadium, and I was shocked at the number of, the lack of craft beer there. I mean, I'm not really shocked. I mean, the Yankees, you kind of think of them as kind of the gold standard for generic and normal, but it's like the Yankees of X, the Yankees of this. They're kind of like, well, they're the best at it, but they're that. So they had the Yankees of beer there. They had Budweiser and they had Heineken, and that was kind of their whole. That was kind of their whole shtick. Was they just had those 2 or 3, different things.
And sports, and
that was it.
And that's my one thing about that one thing that I can actually hold a positive to. Some of these bigger breweries some of these famous breweries getting balled out is that you have more options at a sporting event.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I don't know if that's the way I want to get more options at a sporting event, but at least you can get some actually beers that have a little bit more flavor while you're watching for your team play. But
yeah,
I digress on that. But
yeah, but I mean, it just it kind of goes into that whole thing of like, it has its advantages, it has its disadvantages, but the main thing is quit trying to pretend like it matters to you that everybody gets along. Because if there's a battle, there's a battle, between craft brewers and big brewers, and I don't even see it that way. Like you said earlier, it's an afterthought.
Yeah, I'm almost getting tired of it.
Yeah, I am too.
Like, it's Budweiser, Coolers, they're over there. Let them do their thing, and I don't have to like them, but I'm almost as a craft beer drinker. I'm like, let's just focus on craft beer and not even talk about them. And they should be like, okay, let's just focus on brewing beers for the masses and don't even worry about craft beer.
Yeah.
And label your stuff accordingly. We'll label our stuff accordingly and move on.
Yeah. Which, speaking of labeling and moving on, this is a great beer. I'm enjoying this.
The Jolly Ollie.
The Jolly Ollie, or
Holly,
because we're butchering everything tonight.
Yeah.
No, it's the Cigar City High Lie, but it's the White Oak.
White Oak
High Lie.
Delicious.
It's really good. I like it.
When you work at it, when you've worked at a craft beer bar or tap room or market, the Jolly Ollie or whatever, you get it pronounced like 5 million ways. So I usually use one of the terms somebody's called it before.
Well, I mean, Cigar City's been in Tennessee for what, a year, 2 years?
Yeah, I mean a little bit longer than that. Several years now.
No, not several. Couple. Maybe more.
At least 3.
You think? I don't think it's been that long. I think it's been 2. But anyways, it's neither here nor there. The main thing is, it's great that we have Cigar City in Knoxville. Yeah. It makes me happy. But yeah, it's good to have their beer. But yeah, so moving on from that, now we're talking about Knoxville again. We got some cool news. Got some neat things that have come up in the news recently regarding some of the local breweries, or some of the regional breweries, I really should say. Regarding Black Horse, with them announcing a new brewery coming out in Maryville, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be or Alcoa.
Yeah,
which is going to be their main production facility, I guess, for the area.
Which, I'm not going to lie, I am so happy to hear that.
Yeah,
because they have turned their Knoxville location into their everything facility. And look, I love the beer there. I love the fact that they're able to do production in can out of that facility, but it looks like you know what it reminds me of, DJ? It reminds me of the room we're sitting in right now. It's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of a bedroom. It's a little bit of my office. It's a little bit of my gaming room, my entertainment center. And this is just what we call our bonus room. It's like a beer bonus room. If you like craft beer, it feels very much like a punk rock craft beer type of place to go, but it feels like if they just got rid of the canning equipment and everything that's in their Knoxville location, they could have a really expansive, roomy, nice restaurant for people. So I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad they're finally getting out to Maryville and getting that facility open. Plus, I mean, Maryville gets some more beer, so that's always awesome.
Yeah, good food and renditions the renditions online or the mock-ups, the drawings look really cool. Have like outside like beer garden area.
Yeah, and of course, we're big fans of Black Horse. We've talked about that a bunch on the podcast. We go there almost every week. But yeah, we like them a lot, and we're happy for them, so that's great.
We'll have Yeehaw expanding in Pigeon Forge, and was it Greenville, South Carolina?
Yeah, Greenville, South Carolina. Yeah, and Pigeon Forge. So they're going to be. I think technically they're going to be able to be. Well, that's neither here nor there. But they're part of our Brewers Association, so it'll be cool to see them having that facility. And I think if I understand their strategy correctly, it's to build smaller places where they brew and they do a lot of unique one-off brews there. So don't go and think, oh, well, I can only get the standard there. They're going to be doing unique beers on a smaller brewing system there, in addition to their main brews that they do. So I think it's a really cool strategy and a cool idea.
And it's a place that
feels similar to Stone, is what it feels like.
I think they've had a good concept, and they've really pushed that concept, and they've had some good financial backing behind it, and then they're really pushing into it. So I'm real interested to see how that grows as a brand across the Southeast, and I think they really want to be known as the Southern beer. Yeah, not just the Tennessee beer. Of course they're going to South Carolina now, but to be the Southern craft beer. So it'd be kind of cool to see how that comes into the picture and stuff like that, to see as they grow.
Yeah, well, they're doing an excellent job of it, and so we've been meaning to get them on the podcast. It's been a little bit of hit and miss with getting that strategized, but we definitely want to have them on soon. So maybe we can do that as we brew your birthday beer.
Yes, I've talked to my little. I talked to Charles, and he's given it a go. Yeah, talked to him a few weeks back. So, but we'll get some pictures of. I've started a tradition a couple years ago. This is my fourth year I've done it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
it's like a year longer than you've done the podcast.
Exactly,
I think.
I know. So I do I brew a home brew for my birthday party every year at the beer market. So hopefully we'll be setting that up. Maybe do some photos of it, some video of it. I'll
actually be there for the whole thing this time.
Get you in there and actually brewing.
Yeah, coordinate it on a day where I can be there and enjoy it with y'all.
So that'll be fun. Something to get to look forward to. Yeah. In the world of humble beer.
Yeah, because Charles has that's badass space.
Yeah, he does, and he does the all grain class for I
saw that
homebrewers course. Yeah. So
and they do it. Do they do it at his place too?
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So he has a nice setup, nice system. So So hopefully, like it's still. Or I know I talked to him the other day, so he said it's a go.
Oh man, that's awesome. So I'm looking forward to your birthday beer. Definitely looking forward to that, and then there's just there's so much else coming up. I mean, as we're doing this, you all know we're doing this every couple weeks now. So here in a couple weeks, we're going to be right as this gets released. We're going to be right at the start of if you're in Knoxville and listening, and not in one of the other very crazy foreign places that I see us get downloads from, like Ireland, what was the other one? We saw, I can't remember the country right offhand, so I'm not going to say it, but it was in Africa. We've had listeners in Africa. If you're listening out of Africa, hello. Happy to have you listening. But, if you aren't in the United States, and specifically in Knoxville, in June, we're going to have a couple of big things coming up. The Tennessee Craft Beer Week, of course, or Knoxville Craft Beer Week, sorry, to be more clear, is coming up. And when is that, DJ? It's going to be June What? I had it keyed up on my phone and then
I have
I
something.
lost it.
By the way, I have something cooking for the Knoxville Craft Beer Week. I didn't even tell you yet.
What?
Yes, I'll tell you off later, but
Okay,
it's a tease.
Okay.
Tease.
Okay.
Maybe, I think I have an interview lined up.
Oh, do you? Do you?
Yeah.
Don't make it live because we've missed our ability to like get in and be listed in the events.
Oh, we have. We've missed it. We missed that, but
We're still going to do it anyway.
We can do it anyway.
Yeah, no, we can totally do it. I'm just saying, like, anyways, so we'll talk about that later. Next podcast, I guess, hear the announcement for what that is, and you'll definitely hear it on the podcast when it actually happens. So that said, June 9th through 16th, now that I got my stuff together, June 9th through 16th is considered Knoxville Craft Beer Week. And there's a lot more events that are popping up online. They've actually got them all published now officially. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. We're talking about it again. And then we've got Brewfest for is it the 4th year they're doing that? 5th year?
That's been since like 2000.
It's more than that. Yeah, I don't know why I'm thinking 4th or 5th. 4th or 5th year I've been. That's what I'm thinking. But they're having the 2018 edition of the Knox Brew Fest. For some reason I thought they were numbering it, and then I realized no, the number they're putting beside it's the year 18, 17, 16. Anyways, I am a genius tonight. Clearly the beer is getting to me.
It's the 6th or 7th year.
Yeah. It's been around for quite a while.
I have to count in my head. I'm not sure.
And of course, if you don't know, it goes to a good cause. It goes to Cure de Shins every year. The all the profits and proceeds from the event go there.
Yeah, get your tickets now.
So get your tickets now.
I might have some news. I'll see if I can officially.
We'll talk about it.
I might have to be able to officially release it soon. But
yeah, it helps when you drink at the event a bunch.
Exactly.
So they like DJ over there, but and I hope they like me too. But anyways, that's a joke. But yeah, so we got a lot of stuff coming up there, and yeah, just be looking out for those events. And if you haven't gotten your tickets, gosh, by the time we air, like, get your tickets and definitely check out Knoxville Craft Beer Week. It's going to be a really, really neat week and a really fun thing to do. So yeah, with that said, was there anything else from you, DJ?
That's good. I'm good to go.
Anything new in your beer fridge?
Oh, goodness gracious! I'm still finishing that last of the New Orleans beers. I have 2 more left from Urban South Brewing Company. So shout out to Urban South if anybody's in New Orleans listening. Mm-hmm. So there's some good stuff. Trying to think of anything I've had. Anything.
You know what I've got new in my beer fridge?
The beer barrel. What?
I've got. What is it? Oh, I totally drew a blank. No, it's Elkmont Brewing. They started canning. It's something we forgot to talk about.
We did. We both were there at the can release. I was
to their launch day.
I was drinking my blues away.
Yeah,
crushing those table beers.
Yeah. Oh, those table beers are so good.
So I was me and some fellow Ready Clad at Manchester United fans were sad
over your sorrows.
We were sad because of the FA Cup final. So but we had a wonderful table beer to eliminate that pain. So it was good.
Yeah, I came home with a 6-pack of their brown, and I love that brown. I don't say this lightly because I don't try to play favorites on the podcast, but seriously, it may be my favorite brown ale of all time.
That brown, exactly that brown ale they have, that American brown is like.
Yeah,
is top notch.
Yeah, and I again, I do not say that lightly, but it's seriously like, Alex, you've done a bang up job with it. If you're listening, we love it. So
they're just like one of those things. It's like what we're getting from them now. Elkmont is just the tip of the iceberg, and you can say that about all of Knoxville.
Well, I mean, look at like I'll say. A brewery that shall remain nameless, just because I don't want to, we don't ever want to talk negatively about a brewery, but one thing I've noticed is, and we'll just talk in generalities here, the breweries, from what I've noticed, it's like going from driving a 4-cylinder car to driving like a V8 or something like that. It's like going from driving a little Fiat to, a BMW M5, or something crazy. It's a completely different ball game to go from home brewing to go to a professional brewing system. And what I've noticed is, like, some of the breweries when they start, it's like, oh, the beer's okay, It's not the best. It's okay. It's not bad. They don't have off flavors, but there's just something that's not quite there yet. And what I've noticed is like if you give it time and you go back and don't go on the first like launch of the beer and go, oh well, this is how they're going to be all the time. Mm-hmm. They're improving because they're learning their systems better. And I've seen that in a lot of the breweries that have launched recently in Knoxville, and not just one in particular. I've noticed that with a bunch of them. And so if for some reason you have been like, I'm not a big fan of the local beers in Knoxville, which I think you'd be crazy not to be because there's some fantastic beer here, definitely go back. Definitely check it out because a lot of these breweries I'm noticing are, it's not just that they're improving; they're already skilled at what they do. But they're just putting more, it's just like they're getting better at the equipment that they're using, and it's creating better beer.
And I would might get in trouble if I forget to talk about this. I did get to see a sneak preview. I went to Open Streets on Sunday, which Open Streets is kind of like a street festival.
Yeah.
And
they close down a street, and then you can walk up and down.
On Sevier Avenue.
Yeah.
I guess I had some good Alliance beer and went to the new South Coast Pizza, and that's a pretty cool spot. But walked a little bit further down the street, and I got a sneak peek preview of Print Shop.
Ooh.
Print Shop Brewing Company. It looks awesome inside. I mean, kind of that.
Well, they're called Print Shop, and part of the reason is because one of their guys is a graphic designer, so it better look good.
It looks really good in there. You get the setup looks nice. The tables, I like the bronze looking tables are nice. The bar, concrete bar. You got the kind of mosaic looking tiles, or the white like mosaic looking tiles behind on the tap wall.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that looks like a killer little spot. I think it's going to be cool. I didn't get to taste test anything. They had a wonderful selection of high C, Yoo-Hoos, water, and so
that was clever.
Their Yoo-Hoo IPA is on point. So
you ever do a double Yoo-Hoo?
What's a double Yoo-Hoo?
A double Yoo-Hoo IPA?
Oh no, double Yoo-Hoo. No, I never. You
just poured two Yoo-Hoos together.
Exactly. There you go.
Double Yoo-Hoo. Yeah.
I should have mixed the Yoo-Hoo and the IC together.
No.
Maybe see what.
No. You know what you can do with soda that you can't do with beer is a suicide.
Well,
mix all the sodas together.
Well, it's just that's the catch-all bucket.
Do you really want to drink that, DJ?
Yeah, that's what we used to do. You used to pay like the drunkest guy in your group that went out to drink the catch-all bucket.
But the difference is, like, as a kid, you voluntarily made a suicide. You wouldn't voluntarily drink the catch-all bucket unless you just really hated yourself.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. So, anyways, all that rambling conversation to say, man, it's been fun.
It's been fun.
And yeah, so as we wrap up the podcast, just a friendly reminder to those listening, please do go and rate us on your podcast listening service, whether that's Stitcher or Podbean or iTunes or Google Play. Like, give us a rating, give us a review, let us know what you think of the podcast.
It's like, I've been using a cast box is what it's called.
Okay.
And it's really good when you subscribe. It gives you that push notification, like pretty fast. It's like within 30 minutes of when you release the podcast.
Yeah,
it's out there. So like a lot of those services and stuff, if you subscribe, that you'll get that notification saying, "Hey, Humble Beer is out."
Yeah, and it's exciting. So go subscribe. Obviously, you've subscribed, or you wouldn't be listening more than likely. But go rate us and find us online. You can always find us on social media if you want to reach out to us. Facebook, we actually respond pretty quickly if you want to message us there privately, have questions, or want to have a contribution to the show as we kind of evolve and change after these 40 episodes. We're kind of having a midlife crisis. I guess after you turn 40, you have a midlife crisis. We're having our mid-pod crisis. Well, this is not really the middle of our podcast. We have hundreds more to go. Hundreds more episodes to go, I'm sure. But as we grow and evolve, we're
going to be the Methuselah podcast.
That's the goal. But as we grow and evolve, definitely want to hear input from our fans and our listeners in any way, shape, or form we can. So So go on there. You find us Humble Beer Pod at Humble Beer Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then online humblebeerpodcast.com. So yeah, with that said, this has been Chris Hill.
This is DJ Luke.
Remember to stay humble
and try new beer.
'Cause I'm halfway down in the bottom of a bottle